You're listening to the Secret Sauce Podcast, unveiling life's hidden recipes for success, happiness, and fulfillment by finding the unique ingredients that shape individuals' extraordinary journeys.
Hello, my name is Jeffrey Davis.
And I'm Lynn Bush.
And we're here with the Secret Sauce Podcast is this our inaugural 5th show? I think it is.
I think it is.
So we know you didn't bring me a cake. We can't blow out some candles, nothing.
Right.
Here we are out there changing some lives, though. We are hearing some people listen, and I think we're off to something great. Miss Santos was unable to make it today for a lot of the reasons we talk about this, to create those wonderful tacos and have available time. She's got to have employees that show up, and today's age, you don't even get a phone call. You just get no-shows, and that's what she got this morning. So as a business owner, you're never off work. Lots of these entrepreneurs don't understand your entrepreneur businesses take a lot more time than working your 9-to-5 job. And so, of course, she's up there making tacos and working the front counter today. So
if you own a business, you work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Even as a therapist?
Mm-hmm. As a therapist.
Do you get phone calls oddly?
I get phone calls occasionally. My phone has always been open to my clients, and my clients have never abused it. And I tell my clients, if you need to call me, day or night, call me. I've probably had 2 people in 42 years call me in the night. Both of them it was important. I've never had my clients abuse that privilege.
Yeah. I have concierge medicine with my doctor, and I have his cell phone number. Mm-hmm. But I've called him or texted him twice. When after Jenna had her baby, she got a real high fever all of a sudden, and so I sent him a message, and he kind of guided us through it. And then there was one other time that I called him. I'd personally called him trying to get him to tell me what was going on, and he helped work me through it, and we were all better a couple hours later.
Concierge medicine is a great thing.
It's fabulous. I don't know why it's not more popular with it. As hard as it is to deal with these insurance companies, I pay them a flat fee for a year, and there's no billing to an insurance company. I might still have insurance, but they don't bill for their office visits, and maybe I get prescriptions from them, and of course you pay for those. But if you have insurance, your insurance covers a lot of your prescriptions. But if I'm sick, I can go see him. If I text him the office right now, called Brandy at the office and said, hey, I've got a cold, I've got a runny nose and a fever. If I've seen him in the last couple of months, she might even just call me in a prescription. Hey, let's get you a Z-Pack going on. When there was COVID going on, I was able to not have to wait in line. I was able to walk in and get a test. And if I needed something, he would have helped me out there. I was fortunate enough not to. We got COVID one time, but it was a real mild case of COVID, and we had ivermectin. Did I say that correct?
Ivermectin.
Ivermectin. I got it from, and so we were able to feel better pretty quickly. And my wife already had me on a regimen. We have a super smart friend that was telling us, hey, you need to start taking a little bit of this and a little bit of that and a little bit of this as COVID was happening, and we took it. We didn't want to get the vaccine because, we just believed that they didn't have the time for someone to make sure everything was okay. And we have some health issues on both sides of our family that concerned us about taking a vaccine that could have some long-term consequences, and so we skipped it, and it was hard for a while. Everybody wanted you to take it. The government's secret sauce there was pounded in your head that it was going to change your life and fix everything for you. And I don't think it did that. And they're doing it again.
I don't think the people will be quite as amenable to their demands this time.
So you think if a mask mandate comes out, we're not going to listen?
I don't think a lot of people aren't going to wear them.
Yeah. Bothers me because I don't want I definitely think I think there was a lot of secret sauce to our past president. I think putting our country first was important to a lot of people, including myself. I think fighting for us with our tax dollars was important to hear. I think him lifting as many obstacles as he could to have some things done quickly was great. But was there wasn't enough honest people, in my opinion, at the end of it to tell me what I was getting was safe or not safe, to their best of their opinions, not their pocketbooks. I read an article the other day that every big vaccine, you could follow the money back to politicians that instituted, all the way back to polio vaccine when it was being pushed on everybody, and there was some gigantic complications. I mean, it was 14 shots at once, 10 shots at once, 9 shots at once. My brother's got the scar. I never got it. I was 1 year out of people having to take the polio vaccine. 74, they didn't give it.
Yeah, I had it when it first came out because people thought, wow, because polio was a terrible disease, and so parents were anxious to get their
My uncle
children.
I never met died from it. My mom's brother died from polio and was here at it Killeen that had the Scott and White Hospital that everybody in the world came to? It's out here in West Texas, somewhere between, it's not Waco.
It's near Waco.
Yeah, it's near Waco. I can't think of the town that it's in between, but that was... it wasn't that plague was definitely different than the one that we had with COVID. And so,
I read that same article you're talking about, or one similar, about how many things went wrong with that vaccine, and they kept it hidden. It was pretty interesting, especially being one of those kids that got it immediately when it came out.
So, I mean, what's the secret sauce to vaccines moving forward? I mean, do you take them? Yeah, I've got a good friend of mine who's if it hasn't been injected into people for 10 to 20 years without issues, my kids aren't getting it. And so he fought the school district on, and he went to Trinity. His kids went to Trinity Valley, which is a very private school here in the Fort Worth area. And he fought he wasn't going to make one of his kids take one of the vaccines because it hadn't been tested on people for long enough.
Right. Yeah, and since I was one of that generation that vaccines were wonderful, if you could stick it in your arm, I got it. I got my flu shots. I got everything.
Yeah.
But after this last debacle, I don't know how I feel about it anymore. I have questions.
Are you going to take a flu shot this year?
Probably not.
Yeah,
And I always have.
I've always have.
I probably won't.
My wife wasn't a flu shotter, and when we met, we started trying. I got her to start taking the flu shot. But I don't know today. I don't know if I trust enough of what I'm getting to be something that doesn't cause me pain in long term. So
well,
I get that.
After we found out that the COVID shots had some issues, now I think we're all a little bit curious about how are the companies managing the safety. I think we all have questions.
I think it's like a hurricane. When it doesn't show up, all those people that prepared, when the big one shows up, will be unprepared.
Right.
And so, how do you get there successfully?
Right. Yeah.
That's what I think is great about my concierge medicine.
Yeah.
Going back to it, why that's such a secret sauce and why so many people should try to find someone that could is because during COVID, I got real answers.
Right.
My doctor had COVID 3 or 4 times at that point because he kept getting it from his clients. I think he's had it less than a dozen, but I think close. He even got it. He's he's a big Christian and gives back to anybody that he can see. So he goes on a lot of missionary trips, and he went on a missionary trip during COVID to help some people out because he was a doctor. And then he got it in the third world country he was in. But I got real answers from real people. Even our pediatrician, who was, we thought she was great. I think there's a lot of people in town that had given her some bad reviews. But she gave us some real answers during COVID and why. And so none of us took shots, and nor would we let anybody get anywhere near our kids with shots.
On Dr. Drew the other night, they were talking about how many things had gone wrong with all the shots and with. So it's it's something to be aware of.
Mm-hmm. Would never have questioned it 10 years ago.
No.
I don't think anybody would.
Oh no. They would have said, "Give it to me right away."
Yeah.
Yeah. So the government has lost some credibility.
I think so.
And certainly the drug companies have lost some credibility.
Speaking of some great credibility, nobody thought he would do it. Nobody thought he had the ability, nor his team. They thought they had the worst roster in the NCAA D1 division football. And Deion Sanders in the Colorado Buffaloes beat TCU.
Right.
I love TCU. I was probably not the biggest Deion Sanders fan growing up because he was brutal for everybody he played against. I mean, then he got to the Cowboys, and I don't remember if I was a big Cowboys fan. I lived in Houston, so I probably was a Houston Oilers fan. But what he's done has been incredible. And Michael Irvin was interviewed about him, and I think this was the strongest statement. I think some of the things that I got to hear him say afterwards made me pretty emotional because, I believe in people's ability to go do what nobody else thinks they can. I've done it. I've seen some incredible people do it.
Right.
It is. You don't drive to do it because people said that you couldn't. We've talked about it before. He could see it. When I became a millionaire, I had people ask me about the deal, and I told them I knew it was coming. I just knew I had to keep going, but I knew that day was going to happen. And the way he talked to those people, he kept telling them, "We're coming. We're coming." And his speech to his kids before getting out there on that field that day was, "We've arrived.
Wow.
And we're here. And so go give me those 2 hours that you've promised me, and let's go do this." And I think Michael Irvin described him best. He said, "Let me tell you something. Deion Sanders has been changing kids' life for as long as I've known him. What he's doing today, he should have been doing his entire life because he was meant to be this person." And I thought that was great. Someone that knew him at his best.
Right.
And really, what was the best in the league? Still, people believe he was the best corner to ever play, or safety. I don't remember. I don't know football that well. I know I like watching it, but
He was a corner.
he was a corner. And for hear Michael Irvin and his successes say, "Hey,
Yeah.
this is what he was meant to do."
Yeah.
He'd been changing kids' life for as long as I've known him. And I think that's, it wasn't football. He just needed an avenue to share his talent that God had given him, which was changing people's lives. And I'm sure before he had stood on a stage and shared with people at a real estate convention or a General Motors pep rally, his story, and someone gave him a chance to coach a football team, and he realized, wow, man, I can change 100 kids' lives, maybe some kids that come and watch it, maybe some other people. I can change some families. I mean, he's got this player that plays for him that was a #1 recruit for the entire country. He was offered almost $2.5 million in sponsorships to go play at other places. And he said, they asked him how he got him, and he said, we just showed him a future. And his mama knew that I was going to take her boy and make him a man by the time he left. And he said, after the game, his mama's texting me, telling me it's something that he hadn't been doing right, and she wanted me to talk to him about it. So I thought that was great because and it made me emotional because I believe that people come into your life to change your life.
Oh, I agree then. I agree. I've always been a Deion Sanders fan.
Oh, have you?
Oh, absolutely.
Now
Yeah.
you've always been a Cowboys fan, so
Yeah,
you knew
yeah.
when he was here and when he knocked the football away from you in one of the Super Bowls. So.
He was always fun to watch. And his spirit, you could always tell he had a spirit that was positive. Yeah.
Where does that come from?
I don't know. It comes from somewhere inside and it's just there.
He didn't have the easiest life.
No.
You know. So, how do people create that spirit? Is it just something God puts in you and says, "Hey, this is your talent, and you're going to grow up with it"? I've heard stories about him since he won the game, from his junior high career, his high school career. He was. They said he was a better basketball player than he was football and baseball player. He was all state in all three of them.
He was just a good athlete.
No, he was great.
Yeah.
Not just at being
Absolutely.
an athlete, because that's just shooting a ball, throwing a football, knocking it. It's all the other mental things that you have to have. His ability to foresee the future and know that it was coming. You know, he knew he was going to catch that ball at that corner that receiver thought he was going to catch. He knew he was going to beat TCU.
Yeah.
He knew it.
Right.
Like, he didn't just were dreaming of it.
Right. He knew it.
He knew it. And so how do you get there in life is my question. I've been thinking about this all week to talk to you about.
So, are you born with something in there? Is it given to you by somebody you meet? Is it given to you by your parents? I think sometimes it's born in you.
Yeah.
But what if it isn't? You still have a chance to have it if somebody you know can help you find it.
Yeah, I definitely have some people that have touched me along the way that have helped me find it, for sure. But I think some people are just born great. I think there's a lot of people born great that are sorry out there today,
Right.
because they didn't use their talent that they were given to go do it.
They can use it in a wrong way.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I do think there's something that is in there that can be brought out with the right circumstances.
So how does he inspire all these kids to be great? How do you teach someone to be great like me? I'm not great, and I'm not trying to teach people to be me. But I think he deserves the right to say, hey, you can be me. Because he's done it in so many different ways. So how does he teach that incredible receiver to be great? Why did his mama want him to be the one to teach him?
So there's something that he could see in that player, and he could encourage him, and he could give him hope. He could give him direction. He could give him belief. I think believing in someone makes a difference.
But there was $2.5 million that believed in him. And he went to go play for someone that had words, not dollars.
Maybe that mama had told her son something about $2.5 million isn't nearly as important as the right words in life, because the right words can give you more than $2.5 million if you use those words.
Yeah. Oh, I believe that.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
I've had people give me $2.5 million worth of words before. That did change my life.
Right.
It's just I need a better direction or more encouragement or more hope, like you said.
Yeah.
I think hope's a lot of it.
Yeah.
I have definitely my internal secret sauce is my inability to have endless hope.
Right.
I'm a hopeless romantic. I'm a hopeless parent. I'm a hopeless business person. I'm a hopeless friend. I'm a hopeless follower of God. Just have continuous hope that things are going to be great and kids are going to need it and need encouragement and awesomeness. My son's in a new school, and I don't know if I ever came home with a report card that said I was doing great. I always had my not necessarily the scores on the test, but my social game and even in elementary school was no good because I got D's and C's and minded and following orders. But my son, I mean, he wasn't at school 30 minutes this morning, and he got 2 claps or what the special things they give him for being a good listener. And I don't know. I think I'm just super happy that he's being challenged, because I think if I was challenged more growing up, I think I would have been a better kid.
But what's interesting about you is you still succeeded.
I had a lot of hope.
Yeah. So what else? What else helped you succeed with the environment you were growing up in that was pretty difficult? So what else helped you succeed?
It was certainly God putting the right people in my life over time. My grandparents for a time, my couple of bosses for a time. And they were bosses, but they were more than bosses. People talk about having mentors, and I don't know if I've really had a mentor, because there's nothing about one person that I wanted to be all of that. There was lots of things about lots of people that I wanted to be, but I never met someone along the way and was like, wow, that's who I want to be.
Right,
I wanted to be part of them, but not all of them by any means. And so I think it was a lot of people along the way. Someone taught me to listen. And so I spent a lot of time. I was a why baby for sure. I asked a lot of why questions that I never got answers to. But as an adult, I could ask a lot of why questions and almost force people to give me a response, because I could, I can pester the crap out of you if I need to. You're going to give me a response as an adult. You're not going to avoid me. I just don't do well with that. And so getting responses from people and being able to use that to give me hope. I always looked for I could tell you what could fail in success.
Right.
But I always looked for hope. And so I did it simultaneously, knowing what could fail and trying to make sure it didn't. Along with hoping everything would be right. And I don't think you can have hope without foreseeing the difficulties that can be coming your way, so that you can overcome them and be prepared for them.
And if you can see the end, you can go through the difficulties, and that's the hope.
Well, I'm ADD. I shop the grocery store backwards. And so, yes, being able to see the end was great for me, because I could definitely work backwards and work the opposite way of most people to get to a conclusion. My wife and I went grocery shopping, and I asked her, do you want to shop like me or shop like you today? Because I do always, I just shop backwards. Lots of people with ADD do things backwards. And so I don't know, maybe that's been part of my benefit in life is being able to see it backwards. Although I will tell you, I got kicked off the football team in the 7th grade for math class, Miss Crennadan's math class. She gave me a 0 on my math test because they wanted you to proof the problem. So they wanted you to basically work backwards. And I couldn't do it.
You couldn't do it.
Because I could do mental math. But I could do 120 times 365, and I could do it mentally and write you an answer. Well, that's what I did on the test, and she thought I cheated. So she gave me a 0. But even back then, accepting people, what they said I did was never okay with me. And so I actually went to the head principal's office. I convinced him that I was right. He asked the teacher to give me another test where it was just her and I in the room, and she did, and I got an ace on it. I don't remember. I got an A for sure. And they let me back on the football team. 7th grade. But it wasn't like my that was, I think it's where you learn in life you have to take care of yourself. Lots of people want other people to take care of them. My mom nor my dad made one phone call to that school to get me back on that football field.
You have to take care of yourself.
You do.
I don't think my mother ever made a call to a school ever, in grade school or high school or college. I don't think that ever. I think
there's a lot of people that complain for school that their kids come home and they're not taught how to be right.
Independent.
Well, independent, just how to behave.
Right. Well, right.
How to respect other people and their stuff and their property. I think there's a lot of issues. I think that's part of bullying at school. You know, you've taught all these kids not to bully and not to say bad things to people and all this. And so the one that is the idiot in the crowd gets to stomp on everybody because nobody's been taught how to stand up for yourself.
Right.
You know, I told my little boy about hitting the other day. I said, if you hit somebody, you take them all the way to the ground. They hit you, you're allowed to hit them to back. But when you hit them back, you take them all the way to the ground. And I'm okay with that. Don't touch me. Don't bully me. And if you do, I'm going to take you all the way to the ground.
Right. And I think that's one of the reasons there's a lot more bullying, because nobody is taught to fight back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Took them down. There's a little Facebook thing that's every now and then pops up, and that wording came from definitely that little girl. Mommy was asking her, you know, about what happened at school today, and she said, the little boy said he was going to marry me, Mama, so I had to take him down. She was trying to explain to him, well, you know, maybe you don't have to knock the kid all the way to the ground next time. But I believe that in life, you know, that you know, you're not going to hurt me, and if you do, I'm gonna take you down.
Yeah.
I just think, you know, so you know, I don't want to be the person that you think it's okay to bully.
It's not okay to hurt me. Not at all. Not now, not ever.
So as a therapist, you would say it's not okay to hurt me.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So I haven't been wrong all these years about that.
No. That's not a nice thing to do. And it doesn't make for a good relationship.
Lots of people let people hurt them all the time.
I know. I mean, that's not okay. Yeah.
Why would someone think it's... What gets someone in their life to think that being bullied in any facet is okay?
I don't know. I really don't know, because that makes no sense to me. It's not okay to hurt someone, and it's not okay to hurt me.
Yeah.
I mean, people hurt people, but it's not okay. You don't get to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that why most marriages end?
I think a lot of marriages end because people don't know how not to be kind to one another, how to be kind to one another, how to not hurt one another. You know, a lot of times what somebody is seeing as hurt is the person hasn't intended to hurt them. They're just clumsy, or they don't know what to say or do. So in marriage, you shouldn't take things personally. It's usually not personal.
Wow. No, that's a tough one.
Yeah.
In a marriage,
Yeah.
in a loving relationship,
Yeah.
don't take things personal.
Yeah, because the person probably didn't wake up and plan to hurt you that day. They're just being careless, or they're being clumsy, but they didn't intend to hurt you. It still hurts. Okay, example. If I'm hanging a picture and I'm using a hammer to put the nail on the wall, and the hammer slips out of my hand and flies across the room and hits you in the head. And it makes a hole in your head, and it bleeds. That hurts. It wasn't intentional. Okay?
But if you wake up every morning...
Wait.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, another scenario where I'm hanging a picture, I'm on the ladder, we're talking, you're across the room, you say something I don't like. I throw the hammer at you. Same injury, same blood. That's different. That was intentional. That hurts. A lot of what happens in marriage is the first scenario. It wasn't intentional. It hurt, but it wasn't intentional. So those have to be handled differently.
But if the person intentionally gets up every morning and hangs a picture and the hammer always slips out of their hand, isn't that at some point becomes intentional? I mean, if you're the same
that may
shitty
be.
person 7 days a week, even though you're not intentionally trying to be shitty, you're just shitty. Isn't that intentional?
Maybe you're stupid.
Okay. Well, I think there's a lot of stupid people out
There are a lot of stupid
I run into
people.
them a lot.
So the problem is, if you're going to be in a marriage, there are certain rules that you have to follow. One is to not be stupid.
Yes.
Okay.
I like that one.
Your marriage isn't going to work if you're stupid.
That could be a great title of the book.
Yeah.
You're married, stupid.
Yeah, don't be married stupid.
I like it. I may actually Google that and see if I can pay for that online today. We'll get to going on a book. Hey, what were the little Cliff Note books that?
Yeah.
Simple, stupid. What were they?
Yeah, that we all used.
Yes, there was those yellow books.
Right.
They don't even have Cliff because there's no need. You got Google today. That's your Cliff Note. But I absolutely remember reading Cliff Note
Oh,
stuff.
absolutely. We also had classic comics. So you could read the classics in a comic book. So if you had a test over a classic, then you could read it in the comic book.
Are you still a comic book fan? Did you have a favorite Marvel comic book back in the day?
I didn't have a favorite Marvel comic book, but I loved Archie and Veronica
Archie and Veronica.
and Betty.
I'll have to. No, because I wasn't a. I was thinking about actually last night at home. I don't really sit down on the couch or sit when I'm at home because when we were kids, you needed to be moving. If
Right.
mom and dad were home, you tried to stay outside, so
Right.
you weren't sitting on a couch. And
Right,
if
right.
mom and dad were in hide, you at home, you wanted to be. If you were sitting on the couch, one of my two parents were going to come ask you to do something,
Right.
and so.
So you had to look busy.
Yes, you had to look busy all the time.
I saw a bumper sticker and it said, "Look busy, Jesus is coming."
I saw a Facebook video of a guy just walking around acting like he was working and touching pallets but never moving pallets. And somebody was filming him and they were like, this is a guy's full work day of doing nothing. I've never been able to do nothing.
Right.
But,
Right. It's hard to do nothing.
my kids hopefully like it. We have our home time. But that's part of our secret sauce to parenting is we do stuff with our kids. And if it's the weekend, we've got 2 or 3 things that we're going to do, whether it's bouncy place, zoo,
Right,
or
yeah.
museum,
Oh,
or
yeah,
go to Mexico. We don't really go to Mexico, but that's what my kids call it when we go eat Mexican food. It's, where do you want to go eat? I want to go eat in Mexico. Okay, well, we're on our way.
Right. Yeah, it's fun for kids to go to museums and to go to different places and to go to just anything. It's fun for them. And a lot of kids don't get to do that.
Mm-hmm. We've got one kid that plays, and we've got one kid that's very aggressive about building things and blocks and trains, and he wants his own space to create, and he's fun to watch. He definitely has that engineer's
Right.
brain. I've seen him stack all the blocks out of the blocks out of the big box and create. We thought he was making houses, but he eventually told us he was making a bunch of boats. But taking the round cube and the cut cube and the square cube and figuring out how to stack them all the way up. It's a lot of fun to watch, and you see depending on the heat and depending on what's going on outside. This city, like no other city I've ever been in, if the Cowboys are playing, this city shuts down. When we were running car business here in town.
Oh, yeah.
If it was a Saturday or a weekday game for Cowboys,
Nobody's going to be out.
Nobody.
No.
Yeah. So we try to stay busy with them. We think it's important that they stay busy. We let them sit on the couch. I mean, we're not wasn't the same for us, but
Right. It's fun to watch them and see what their potential is and what their gifts are.
I think about that a lot. I want him to be president someday because I want him to go change a whole lot of lives. But I don't know if he wants to do that.
Yeah, he might not want to do that.
So we try to listen to him, and we talk to him about all the great things that they could become. But I'm certainly not in a spot where I believe it's time for me to start guiding them or start telling them. You know, certainly maybe you have a kid in your family, if you, as a parent, that maybe needs a lot of guidance on where they're going. I'm fortunate to have two really smart kids. And so I think my job is really to educate them and let them guide themselves.
Right.
Which I'm fortunate there with my kids. I know I've got friends that have children that gonna need a lot of guidance through life. Not that they can't be great. They just gonna need a lot of guidance. And my oldest is just driven. You can see it in everything he does. You can see how he interacts with other kids, but he loves people. I mean, if we go somewhere for 10 or 15 minutes, he's making friends. We went to ride the historic Forest Park mini choo-choo train.
Right.
No, we still haven't got on it. We've tried twice. Both times.
Was it full?
Well, the first time we went, the machine that printed the tickets, the internet was broke on it, so it couldn't access the internet to process your credit card. So we sat there for an hour and a half or so for them to figure it out, and we finally just left because it was too hot. These 100-degree days are killers. And then we went last weekend, and we got tickets, and waiting out there for an hour and a half. We were probably there 2 hours that day. The trains only run every 30 minutes.
Yeah.
And we were 2 or 3 trains back by the time we got tickets. And we were like, that's another hour and a half to 2 hours. There's no way. But my son, as soon as he got there, he wanted to go over to where the trees were, and there's a bunch of sticks on the ground. He'd played with them last time. And he was passing them out to every kid that walked onto his little territory. He was getting them a couple of sticks to play with. And so I think he could be a great president someday.
So he was already organizing some kind of a business of sorts.
I'm telling you, he asked all sorts of questions you wouldn't think a almost 4-year-old would ask. And he does. He asks a lot about business stuff and how things work, why this and why do you do that? But yeah, I think, he didn't sell any sticks to any kids. That'd have been funny. Give me a quarter.
Right. But, well, he was letting them have a free sample to see if he liked them.
That was it. He was my pillow guy. You like my sticks? I got a big tree here I can cut down and give you a whole bunch of them.
You know what's sad is how many children might have that kind of drive or curiosity, and the parents don't even notice it, and so they don't bring it out. Sad.
I had somebody complaining about how young adult was acting, and it was every excuse other than bad parenting. And I think it's a lot of. There's a lot of kids out there that don't get the opportunity to go be great because their mom and dad wasn't paying enough attention that they had a great one.
Right.
And they needed to be molded, and they need to have the opportunity.
Yeah.
I mean, how many great athletes have never got to play sports before?
Yeah.
Because mom and dad were too lazy to take them to ballet practice or take them
even to notice it.
Yeah, to notice it. Yeah, wow. You really hummed that baseball past me, or, well, you really can spell. Let's see if we can do something else with that talent. You're great on a computer. Well, why can't we get you to some fancy something that can make you really great on a computer?
Right.
But, there's so many opportunities today to do all those things with all the free programs, with all the people that want to pretend they're giving people the opportunity to be great. I think there's opportunities for the people that want to be in those programs to get in them.
Yeah. You can take classes online from MIT. If you go on YouTube, they're available.
Oh,
it's free.
Yes.
Yeah.
I heard about that.
Yeah.
I wanted my wife, she's super smart, and I wanted her to take a class from, it wasn't MIT, maybe it was Brown. It was Rice. Rice University was offering a entrepreneur real estate and commercial real estate class, so you get a certification. And I wanted her to take it. We haven't had the opportunity to slow down enough to take it, but I think that's great these days. I've had some past bosses that went and took the 9-month crash course at Harvard to get a Harvard degree, so that they could take their company public, because they were entrepreneurs. They were. I don't have a college degree, but I'm running a $1 billion company guy, and when they wanted to go public, the Salomon Smith Barney, which was around back then, told them, "Hey, you can't be CEO. You don't have the education and the trust that public's going to need to trust you, just with no degrees. And so we need to find a new CEO for the company." And he was super offended by it and did the 9-month crash course. And then the market changed in 2008, and they didn't take the company public anyhow. But, I don't believe an education is the secret to success. Now, I do believe that you were born with some greatness, and so you have some natural talents. Right. And if not unfortunate, but if you're one that needs to be taught talents, then you need to recognize that it's time to be taught your talents, and college could be a great thing. I'm going to demand my kids go to college, because
for them there's no reason not to.
I think I'll have enough. I think there'll be enough assets in our family that paying for their college won't be any issue, whether it's staying in the dorms or paying for their expenses while they're in college. And so for that reason, I think it's worth 4 years or 3 years of your life for me. And I'm almost insist as much as I can that my children do get that opportunity, because you're definitely going to get taught talents that I can't teach you, that the world's not going to teach you firsthand.
Right.
And if you pick up a couple of them while you're there, that's an incredible secret sauce you can use forever.
And you get some exposure to things that you wouldn't get exposure to otherwise.
Sure.
I mean, you read things you wouldn't read otherwise. You learn things, so that's good.
I'm pretty hard in black and white on a lot of stuff, and so I don't have a great social game. I don't feel like I have to have a whole bunch of friends, and I'm not that person. And I moved around a lot growing up, so long-term friendships just didn't happen.
Right.
But the school districts, even taking my child to private school, they think the social game is as important as the being super bright. They don't recommend that you push your kids through school. A 13-year-old doesn't need to be graduating high school, because when they get into life, they're missing out on the dating and the life experiences. And not going to college myself and being there for other people that were going to college. They did have experiences that would have been cool to have been in my life, but never having the opportunity to slow down enough to do that. So,
and you're exposed to teachers and adults that you wouldn't be exposed to otherwise, and that's helpful.
I can only remember 2 teachers from my past: Miss Crittenden, which was the math teacher that gave me a 0. And Mrs. Farmer, which was our music teacher from K through 5th grade at Northampton Elementary. she had red hair. I don't know. Maybe I've had a thing for redheads since Miss Farmer.
In my first year at TCU, in my introductory chemistry class, the teacher had handed back the tests that we had taken. And we were looking over the test to see he had scored them. And somebody in the class raised his hand and said, "Dr. Lyle, you've counted some answers off that weren't wrong." And so Dr. Lyle said, "Well, bring it down to the front. Let me see." So the kid handed him the test, and Dr. Lyle looked at it, turned it over, handed it back to him. And he said, "Well, aren't you going to change the score?" And he said, "No." And the boy said, "Well, that's not fair." And Dr. Lyle said, "Life's not fair. Sit down." Best thing I learned at TCU.
The sit down part, or?
Life's not fair.
Life's not fair.
Yeah. That was worth the entire cost of the tuition.
Yes, but everything our news and our government's given today is trying to tell you that life's fair and we're going to equal it out for everybody.
Sure you are.
Yeah.
Yeah. Learning that life isn't fair is a really important part of success. Yeah.
Yeah, it should be part of what drives you.
Yeah.
You want something, go get it.
Yeah,
I
it's not
wanted
fair.
a tennis racket in seventh grade. I mowed lawns until I got it.
Right.
And then I got grounded for going and getting it. And
Right.
so I get where people don't want to, because that was an example to me in life that life will come back and shit on you right on top of your success. And so
But you just keep going.
yeah, you don't stop.
Right.
I think I probably told my stepdad, I'm sure I did, that fine, take it. I'll go mow some more lawns. Don't go buy another one.
Get another one.
Yeah, so keep taking the damn rackets. Shit. You weren't gonna keep me down because God gave me free will. I had the ability.
Yeah.
And I knew it.
Yeah.
And I had enough hope in my abilities that you weren't gonna stop me.
Right.
I could see life in the future.
Yeah.
Deion Sanders could see. It wasn't the win. He could see that the boys had the drive for
Yeah.
success.
Yeah.
You've seen hundreds, thousands of people interviewed after a football game. And he said, his son said, they asked him, why were you so good today? What made you so successful today? And he said, I had my dad's back. And they asked, what do you mean you have your dad's back? My dad wanted to win, so I was out there doing my part to have my dad's back.
Right.
And I thought that was powerful. It meant to me that Deion Sanders wasn't just the shit you saw on TV.
Right.
His kids felt it.
Right.
I've never heard someone describe anything as, I have my dad's back. And I think
Yeah.
if more people felt that way about mom and dad, I got my mom and dad's back. I got them. I'm there for them.
Right.
I think it would go a long way in our society to make us all better and feel better and be more successful. You've got to cover somebody's back in life. That's just life, whether it's your wife or your kids or your employers. I think lots of people miss out on your employer is one of those people that you got their back. If you're there and you're getting paid and you want success and you want more out of your work, then you go give more to your work, you'll get out of it. People will notice, you'll get promoted, you'll get advancements, you'll get interest in it. They'll offer you to buy in as a partner. But you don't get those things just being.
Just being there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But a lot of people want equity for being. And
it
I
doesn't
can't
work
give
that
it to
way.
you.
It doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
No.
So what do you got the rest of the weekend? Anything exciting?
This weekend, I'm going to catch up on some things that I'm writing. I'm writing some things about marriage, and so I'm going to do that this weekend.
And we came up with a name for your book today.
Yeah.
You're married, stupid.
Yeah.
Or don't be married and stupid.
Don't be married, stupid. Don't be stupidly married.
Yeah, I love it. I think it's a great title. And I think it explains a lot of stuff.
It does. It really does, doesn't it?
I tell people in deals a lot, don't complicate it.
Right.
Keep it simple, stupid.
Right.
Because if you complicate it, you're creating objections. You're creating reasons for people to say no.
Yeah.
Make it simple.
Yeah.
Simple, stupid.
Yeah.
So I agree with you. I think it's a great name for a book. I think it describes marriage. If you think before you talk, if you think before you do, if you think before your actions, stupid, you will be okay.
If I say this, what's going to happen?
Yeah. Don't be stupid.
Right.
You can't say that and have a good outcome from it.
Right.
So. And we're not all perfect. I make mistakes. You make mistakes.
We're not all perfect. In fact, we're all pretty broken and messed up. But, that's okay.
That's okay. I think it's okay. Well, thank you for your time today. Hopefully, we'll have some employees show up to Miss Santos's business next Wednesday, and we'll be able to hear her God-felt story about her success and where she's going in life,
Right.
and how she got there, and we'll get to hear no different than you and I have talked for 5 episodes. She's got where she's got because of the amount of lives she's changed along the way, and she's going to tell you that. And that was part of what pulled me to her today. You know, I got to spend 30 minutes talking to her today, and
Yeah.
just listening to her. You know, she has so much hope. I mean, I heard her, you know, talk about some things that weren't right today, and she was like, "It's okay. God has a plan for me.
Right.
We know we're going to be okay, and I'm going." And she's willing to take her life savings and her paid off $1 million or so house and go throw it at what she thinks is God will. And you know, I used to do it when I was in some dark places in my life. You know, I've spent a lot of time feeding anybody that let me bring them food, because I wanted to do something for somebody else, and I needed help, but the only way I could fix myself was to take care of others. And so I did. I spent a lot of time feeding other people. And that's what she wants to do. She wants to feed people with her great food and change a lot of lives. And she needs more exposure for it. So hopefully we'll have a Santos Tacos and the old Moon Pizza building in downtown Burleson soon.
Right.
But thank you for your time. I hope you have an incredible weekend. Writing, if you need any help, don't hesitate to call. I can't spell, but I'd certainly give you some words.
Cool. So you have a great weekend too.
Thank you.
See you next time.
On Secret Sauce Podcast.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of the Secret Sauce Podcast. Follow us on social media at The Secret Sauce Pod to receive daily encouragement on how to find your secret sauce to life.